Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sharon, and this is Classy Shades Designs.
Hey you guys, by special request I did a Facebook Live video showing how I created these beautiful tumblers using tissue wrapping paper. I've reduced that hour-long video down to about 11 minutes and I hope that you truly enjoy it. I do apologize that the video is vertical instead of horizontal.
Okay, we're going to use my Podge. I picked this tissue paper this time to do. I think my last tumbler, I used this pretty paper right here. This is gorgeous, you guys. This paper is so gorgeous. I found it at the Dollar Tree. And it's just absolutely beautiful, but it doesn't take much, so I can do a whole bunch more cups with this. But I'm going to go ahead and use this little paper right here. It's so plain, but I'm going to glitter it up a little bit in some of the lines. I'll add some glitter to it. So we've got our Mod Podge. We're going to need our brush. Of course, we'll probably need our scissors and an X-Acto knife. Maybe, maybe not. And then your tumbler. The very first question that was asked is, do we need to prep the cup? And I did not prep my cup when I used this paper here. And I'm not going to prep the cup this time because I want to see what will happen with the silver shining through behind this paper. I think this paper might be thick enough that it won't need to happen, that I won't need to prep it. But if you want to, it's really a personal preference. If you have a thin paper and you want a different color to shine through, then by all means go ahead and prep your cup, spray paint it, sand it, however you do that, what works best for you. But I will not be prepping this little cup. I'll be doing it like it is. You saw me squirt my Mod Podge into this little medicine cup. For me, it's just an easier way to work on it. I've also got a paper plate here to catch any fallout and some paper towel. Measure out how much paper I'll need, and it looks like I will be safe by cutting about that halfway. I would love it if I could get that to line up just like that. That would be like super perfect, but look at how much sag I have in there and how much sag is there. But I'm going to try it. So I know how much paper I need there, and now I'm going to just cut it. So this is what happens when you get paper that has a design on it. So taking my Mod Podge, I'm just going to put a thin coat around the cup. You don't have to worry about it being pretty because your paper is going to cover it up. What you do want is to make sure that you've got enough Mod Podge on there to make contact with the paper, right? So, and I'm just going to put a little bit on about half of the cup, because the thing that we want to be careful with is as soon as the paper, the tissue paper, makes contact with the Mod Podge, you only have a few seconds to move that paper around. So for me, I've found it's best to do work in smaller sections, right? I'm going to leave my bottom naked because I am going to do a little trick that I think I'm going to try on there. So we've got it going here, and I'm trying to do this so you guys can see. And I'm going to place it on there and rub out the wrinkles that are in it and just rub it down, right? You can pull it a little bit. Be careful with it though, because you don't want it to rip it. And just rub out any wrinkles. All right. So that section is complete. And I'm going to work on another small section. I'm right-handed, but I'm working from the left because of where the camera is at. So it's kind of, no, I'm going to do it this way. I'm sorry, you guys. I want to do it right, though. Right? Are we in shot? Yeah. So we'll just keep working a little bit at a time and folding it on, smoothing it down, You want to try to smooth out as many wrinkles out of it as possible. The key here is just work in pieces. And even though we know that it's a 20-ounce hog, skinny at the top, it is a little wider, or skinny at the bottom. It is a little wider at the top, and that's okay. My pattern, if I get it to match up, do you see this little piece here? I could snip scissors up through there to line it up, or I could just go with the flow and let it be uneven in the back, right? And that's probably what I will do. I'll probably just go with the flow. So we're coming to the end. I'm going to go ahead and put the last little bit of Mod Podge, and I am overlapping on this piece here. That's okay. We want it to overlap. And wrap it around, seal it in, right? Make sure all your wrinkles are out of it as best as possible. Just be gentle with it because it is tissue paper and it will rip. It's not Charmin. Right? So that's how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and cut this excess off, but not too much. I want to leave enough so that when I get ready to make sure that I have a straight edge on here, I'll have some excess to take off. We have the cup covered. The tissue paper is softened underneath the Mod Podge, so I don't want to mess with that too much. At this point in time, I'm going to just take my Mod Podge and I'm going to do soft ginger strokes down the back of it here. I do not want to Mod Podge this down to the cup because that's where we're going to cut our straight line at, but we want to have a nice layer of Mod Podge on this second half here. So we're going to just Mod Podge the entire cup with thin layer, being very careful not to press too hard because you don't want to rip your paper. Remember this, it's water, liquid, and paper together on a really soft tissue paper. It will tear, and that won't make you happy to have to start all over. You can always recover a tear. You can close it up and put Mod Podge on it, but it absolutely will tear. So just soft strokes, right? All right. So at this point in time, we've got it covered really well. This is our little flap. We're going to leave that up. I don't know if you can see that. I'm leaving that up because I'm going to cut a straight line on that, and I don't want that little flap to be glued down to my paper. So the reason that we did this coat of Mod Podge on here, it's going to dry and it's going to harden up this tissue paper, and it'll give us the ability to work with it, cut our line, cut around the top edges, and make everything pliable. I'm going to go ahead and put some paper, all the way up to the top around here too, because when we cut this, we want this to be stiff, and the Mod Podge will make it stiff. So what we're going to do now is take our X-Acto knife, and I am going to try to cut a straight line so that we can make a straight line on the back here for our base. Now you can, if you want to, you can run a piece of tape along the side of this. I'm not going to because I don't know if we've got enough Mod Podge on there to not rip that up. But I'm just going to run a straight line down the back of here. This is going to cut off the excess paper, right? If you start seeing it pull up, that's because we haven't let it dry enough. And I'm going to move beyond that. But see how that's giving me that straight line? Can you see that? Because I cut that off of there. All right. And just work slow, especially if you run into areas that aren't 100% dry. Normally I would let this sit for about 15-20 minutes, but since we're on live, I didn't think you guys wanted me to waste that much of your time. All right, that looks good. See that? Now, this is stiff across the top. Let me make sure you're in shot. And so I'm going to run my X-Acto knife right around the edge. The blade is laying on the, can you see that? The blade is really just, let's cut this open. I got the blade just laying on the lip of the cup, and I'm just running it around the edge there. I don't know if you can see that. Let me try to move your angle so you can see. I'm just running it around the lip of the cup. Okay. Just kind of sawing it off. There we go. All right. So that's what it looks like so far. And at this point in time, other than a little bit of cleanup on the edges, you could be prepared for your last steps before you epoxy and decal. And that is, we're going to add at least 2 more layers of Mod Podge to it, right? Because we want this to be really good and sealed with Mod Podge. And the reason why is because under epoxy, if we don't have it sealed good enough, the epoxy will make it look like it has oil slicks on it, right? I would encourage you to wait a good 10-20 minutes in between each one before you cut off the excess paper. And that way you'll know that that Mod Podge is completely dry. And if you want, there would be no harm in doing your second coat of Mod Podge on the top before cutting it then too. Do your edge, make sure your edge is good. And run it around your rim. I don't worry about my bottom because when I put my logo on it, it will take care of that. So I'm not worried about the bottom. Right. From this point, we'll allow this to dry completely. Put one more coat on, which would be then the third coat on top. Allow that to dry. Put a thin layer of epoxy on it. Allow that to dry, and then add your decals, and from there you work it just like you would any other tumbler. You want to make sure that your lip has enough Mod Podge over the top, over the edge, and when you epoxy it, make sure that you epoxy it so that you cover that and close that seal up. If you want, you could also cut it down and not go all the way to the lip. I like to go to the lip on my cups. So you'll just do that and make sure that it's sealed good across the top. But that's it.